Hi, ladies. Welcome back to Flourish. We're so glad that you're here. And today I am here again with Norma McLean and Heather Sabinski. So we're all just happy to see you and happy to have you join us. We're going to kind of get right into our message this morning. Norma's going to start us off. She's got some awesome words that she wants to share about being anchored in peace.
Peace, yes, anchored in peace. So first thing I want to say is, what is peace?
Yeah.
Peace isn't necessarily the absence of conflict. Mm-hmm. It's not the absence of chaos or crisis. Peace is what's going on in the inside of you. And if we look at actually what the biblical definition of peace is, it's a loaded word. Peace is a loaded term. It's not just a simple thing. Peace means completeness, it means wholeness, it means health, welfare, safety, soundness, tranquility, prosperity, perfectness, fullness, harmony. It's more than just, there's no agitation, there's no discord going on, chill, I'm peaceful. It means there's a whole lot more than that.
Yeah.
And it means perfect well-being and harmony. And so when we think about peace and the peace that we get from Jesus, he gives us all of those things in himself.
Yeah.
And I want to read a verse here from the Amplified. It's John 14:27. Jesus said this. He says, "Peace I leave with you. My own peace I now give and bequeath to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." Stop allowing yourselves to be agitated and disturbed, and do not permit yourselves to be fearful and intimidated and cowardly and unsettled. Let's just let that sink in for a minute.
That's a lot. I'm still like hung up on the don't and stop. I'm like, yes, yep. I'm listening, Papa. Got it.
Yes. So he gave us something. He said, I give you my peace. So he gave us a gift. I give you my peace. And then he gave us an instruction. He said, I'm giving you my peace. So remember he said, read, believe, and say. So we read that. I give you my peace, and we believe it. Okay, I believe that. I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
And then the instruction is, do not let your hearts be troubled.
Yeah.
Don't let what I have given you be taken away from you. And don't you give it away. He says, I have given you completeness. I've given you wholeness. I've given you health, safety, soundness, harmony. Don't let it be taken away from you. Mm-hmm. And that word let is really a powerful word, because let can means give permission to. And also, if you think of it, if you ever seen a sign that says rooms for let means rent. So he's saying, don't let your brain or your heart be rented out to agitation, to fear, to discourse, because that's what you're doing. You're renting out space for free. At least in the natural, somebody's renting, they're getting money for it.
Freeloading. Right.
Yes. So don't let agitation and discord, don't let that freeload in your brain.
Yeah.
So don't give permission to agitation and fear to steal from you what I have given you.
Yeah.
And he said, my peace. And his peace is a special kind of peace. It was his personal peace that he walked around the earth with. It's the peace he walked around with when he was healing the lepers.
Yeah.
It was the peace he walked around with when he fed 5,000 men plus women and children on a couple of occasions with 5 loaves and 2 fishes.
Right.
And we get all flustered like, what am I going to make for dinner? I don't have enough to eat. That's the peace he walked in. That was the peace he walked in when they tried to throw him off a cliff, and he just disappeared from the midst of them. He kept that peace. He had peace that passes understanding. Yeah. And that's the same peace that he's given to us. And he says, don't give that away. Don't let that be taken from you, and don't give it away. So when he says, let not, that means when you're in the valley of decision, when you're in a crisis situation, you're the deciding factor. You're the one who, by your choice, you determine whether you're going to be in peace or out of peace. He's not going to do it for us. He says, because I've already given it to you. So,
I love that it says peace surpassing understanding too,
Yes.
which meaning for those of us that need to understand everything, you don't have to understand to have his peace. Like I
Yes.
have to understand the fullness of the situation or anything to have that peace and to retain that peace. I don't have to understand it. I just receive it.
Yeah.
That's really good. That helps move on to one of my other points too about peace stealers. What are some of the things that steal our peace?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Since he gave us his peace is on the inside of us, right? It's a fruit of the Spirit, but things on the outside can come and try to steal our peace.
Right.
So what are some of those things? We can have unrealistic expectations. You know, we can
Yeah.
say like, I thought you were going to put gas in the car. No, I thought you were going to put gas in the car. When immediately we lose our peace. Okay?
Yeah.
We get the unpredictables or the inevitables. Okay, so the kids are all dressed and fed in the morning. You're ready to go to the grocery store, and boom, the baby has a blowout in their diaper. Okay, that's
I
your
remember
peace
this.
is gonna. I do too. And your peace is stolen by that
Yeah.
thing, right? Or something else. What about this? You don't give yourself enough margin. You're always hurrying and rushing around. You're waiting till the last minute to get things done.
Just stepping on my toes on that.
I know.
You know, I was thinking, like my husband and I, when our grandkids come over for the weekend and we bring them to church, I have to think about, okay, what time do they have to get up, to get dressed, to have breakfast, so that we can leave the house on time to get here on time. And so I'm always adding a half an hour to
Yep,
that
you
time.
have to add in margin. Yes.
And you know, because there's the inevitables, somebody's not going to do what you expected them to do.
Right.
And
Yes.
so the last time we had our kids, our grandkids over, and I had already planned out what everything was going to be, how it was going to be done. I was taking my things I need to put in the car to the car. And when I got back to the door, there was a handsome little 3-year-old boy looking at me, going, "Hi, Mimi." And he was 2 hours early for being up. And I'm like, "What are you doing up?"
He didn't follow your schedule.
He didn't follow my schedule, but it was okay because I had margin built in. So,
Yep.
you know, I gave him some instructions. We got breakfast and everything was fine, but I wasn't taken aback by it. I was surprised to see him, but, you know, I had margin built into the morning so that I
Yes.
wouldn't be frustrated. And that might be a function of my age, too. I've kind of practiced. Peace has to be a lifestyle.
Yes.
You have to practice peace. It's not something you can just pick up and do. You have to say, I'm going to develop a lifestyle of peace. You said peace is a person.
Yes.
That's what Jesus had, a lifestyle of peace.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't read anything about him in the Word and find him scurrying around doing something
Rushing.
in a tizzy.
No.
And
He's
it's always
never.
purpose and intentional.
Yes, that's-
and yeah. That's
Yeah.
good.
That's good. So
Yes.
giving yourself margin, hurrying around always running late. And the other things people might be concerned about, like, you know, finances. At this time with
Yeah.
COVID and people losing jobs, people get really tense and lose their peace
Mm-hmm.
over finances.
A lot.
So the thing to do, you make a list of those things that are peace stealers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then you come up with the antidote for that thing that's stealing your peace. So if you don't have the margin, then when you're planning out your day, first plan your day and then build in some margin. You know, if it's something you have to do with, like the unpredictable with the kids in the car or something, you just have an extra diaper ready, or you get them up a little bit earlier so you got that time prepared. But prepare for those things, because the victory belongs to the people who are prepared. If you're
Yeah.
not prepared, you're going to lose the victory. Amen?
Yeah.
Another thing that's a peace stealer is if we're reacting and not responding.
Yep.
Okay. If we haven't thought about what's the right thing to do, like we talked about last time, there's no emergency reaction team, but there is an
no.
emergency response team.
Yep, absolutely.
So sometimes you have to just be calm and think about what's the right response in that
Yes.
moment. And that means you do have to slow down, because usually when we lose our peace, we're going at 85 miles an hour.
Yeah,
And
we're
so
two
to
steps
really-
ahead of
to-
where we should be. We're not
Exactly.
in the moment. We're already looking ahead and tripping over ourselves.
Exactly. So to keep your peace, you're going to have to slow down, go from 85 to 45. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get speeding tickets too?
Uh-oh. That's a later video.
Yeah. True confessions.
Yeah. So then, so thinking about the problem instead of the answer is another reason why we lose our peace. So we're
Yeah.
not focused on what the Lord has to say. We're thinking about how big, we'll get out of our seat.
Yeah.
We're now, instead of being our vantage point seated in Him, we're now down here at ground level. We're looking at all the what could be's and what ifs, and we forget that we have the answer available to us, and the answer actually lives on the inside of us.
That's right.
If we learn to depend on the Lord, the answer is always resident in us.
Yeah.
We don't have to
Yes.
depend on ourselves because everything we have, like we talked about last time, it's in Him.
Yes.
So we don't magnify the problem, we don't magnify the issues, we think about Him.
Yeah.
And then we talk about, say, the why. We rationalize and we reason. Why this? How? When? If you're in that zone, you're not trusting God. If
Yeah.
you have to know the answer, if you have to know the outcome, then your peace comes from being in control.
Yeah. I mean, really, if we wouldn't need faith
That's right.
if we had all the answers. I mean,
That's right.
we wouldn't have to use our faith.
That's
so.
right. That's so
true.
good. And if you live in that realm of reasoning, you'll put yourself in a position to be deceived because the enemy will give you an answer that you'll be happy with.
That's good.
And then it won't necessarily be the God answer. It might be a good answer, but it won't be the God answer.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
good.
we have to trust God. We have to leave that with Him.
And
Or-
can I add
Oh,
something?
please do.
'Cause Jenica's usually at the table, and one of the things she says, and I just love it, and it's helped me a lot. She's like, if God hasn't given me the answer, then I don't need the answer yet. You know, He'll tell me when I need to know. When I need to know, I'll know. And again, but not searching for an answer from another source or
Yes.
not getting confirmation from
good.
maybe people.
Yes.
Well, and one thing God showed me, when my daughter was young, we went through some health struggles with her, and she had to get surgery. And I remember why was a big question in my
Yeah.
mind. Why aren't you healing her, God? Why? And I remember Him telling me, you need to get off the why merry-go-round, because it was just
Yeah.
going around and around. He said, instead of asking why, ask me, what am I going to do now in this situation?
good.
And
Yeah.
who am I now in this situation?
That's good.
And those are the questions now. Instead of asking the whys, I ask, okay, what do you want to do now in this situation, God? And, you know, you have the example in the Bible of the parents that had the blind child.
Yes.
And when Jesus was going to heal them, they said, well, who sinned? You know, they wanted a reason. Like, why is this
Yeah.
person like this? He said, you're asking the wrong question. This is to show my glory. And so
Yes.
when we're in those situations, we don't have an answer. It's like, okay, what do you want to do now? Because
Yes.
he will show His glory in those situations that we don't have the answers.
Yes, yes.
And I just want to add to that. I mean, I think so often, though, when our children, especially, or when we're walking through a health thing, I think that really does steal our peace.
It's
I
hard
think
for a
those are
parent.
huge peace stealers. We walk through some of the girls have heard my testimony about Dominic. He was diagnosed with a chronic eye disease. And if you ever saw him when he was 2 years old, he had eyelashes that were like butterfly wings and these big blue eyes. And so we walked through this process for a year and a half, and it got to the point where he had a staph infection in his eye and it was just like it went on. And I looked up all the itises that they had labeled him with. Unfortunately, again, that's a peace stealer. If you're walking through a medical
Yes.
battle,
Don't
do
go to
not go on the
WebMD.
internet.
Right.
Don't look it up. You don't need to know.
That's right.
And I had gotten to the point, you know, sometimes when you're in those battles, again, peace lives on the inside of us.
Yes.
So you can pray spirit-led prayers on the way to one of our doctor's appointments. I said, Lord, I can't have the doctor, I can't hear any words that aren't from you. You know, I only want to hear your words.
That's right.
And it was interesting, we left that appointment and Charlie was like, everything's great. Like, he didn't say anything negative. I said, Charlie, he never finished a sentence. And he's like, what? I said, he sat there, the doctor, the whole appointment, sat there and rubbed his forehead. And he's like, well, and he rubbed his forehead. And he said, he could not finish a sentence. And he's like, this is what I'm going to have you do, come back on Saturday. So 2 days later, and he happened to be a Christian doctor also. And when we came back on Saturday, then I could hear. I could hear his medical knowledge
Yes.
on that day. And he kind of sat back in his chair. He's like, I was praying that he'd be completely healed, but it's improving. And then he had me come back again on Tuesday. And again, I couldn't have handled on that particular day. The Lord knew, I knew in my spirit that I couldn't handle all the words that He would have shared with our family. And again, having peace on the inside of us is such a gift. And it's a choice.
It's a choice.
And sometimes it's okay to ask for help in those moments and to lean not on our own understanding.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that about the medical issues, because I was telling you I was going to share that I learned these principles about being anchored in peace and being anchored in joy and being seated in Christ through, I have 4 children, but my 4th child was a 3-year battle to get him here. I had 3 miscarriages. And the first one was I remember the day it happened, it was on a Wednesday, and I'd gone to the doctor and got the report that the baby had no heartbeat. And so my baby was not alive, and I was teaching, it was like 25 years ago now, because my son is 22, and I was teaching a Wednesday night Bible study for kids. So middle schoolers and elementary school kids all in the same room. But I enjoyed it. I was doing praise and worship and everything, and so I got that message that had happened to me that day, and with tears in my eyes, I pulled the covers up over my head and I said, Lord, you have to help me, because that was definitely a peace stealer.
Absolutely.
It was something trying to knock me out of my seat. And immediately I heard on the inside of me, Hebrews 10:35 and 36. Cast not away your confidence, therefore. It has a great recompense of reward. And I said, okay, I'll take that, I'll believe that, I'll receive it. And then I went to church and I did praise and worship, jumping up and down with tears in my eyes. But I learned to be anchored. I learned how to hold on to my peace. And then a year later, another time it happened, and I was in the mall shopping, and I felt this, dampness in my clothes. I'm like, okay, and I go home and I find out that yes, I had. But I had found a scripture the Lord gave me, because He helps us when you lean on Him. And He gave me a scripture from Psalm 113. He makes a barren woman to keep house and be a joyful mother of children. So that was the word I kept speaking to myself. I'm like, I'm not moving out of my seat. I'm keeping my peace. This is what the Lord has said. And so they had to go through that. And then the next time again, it happened again. And I was further along this time, and I had to actually go into the hospital for a procedure. I can love telling the story, because the good news is I have a 22-year-old to prove God's word is true.
Yes.
And so I was laying on the bed with an IV in my arm, and the nurse came in to talk to me. And I couldn't hear a thing she said, because I had my headphones on, my hands up in the air, and I'm worshiping God. I'm praising God. I learned joy in the midst of the crisis. I learned to stay anchored in that
middle
place.
Of the storm.
And if you, like God closes a door and He opens another one, and between these 2 doors is a hallway.
Yeah.
You have to walk that hallway to get to that end. And so I was in the hallway with my headphones on, waiting for that promise. And that happened. And then the next time I was pregnant, then the doctor started speaking to me. Then the doctor's words were coming, telling me I was too old. I was 43. I'm like, Sarah was 99.
43 is nothing.
I am 56 years younger than her.
Yep.
You don't have the last word.
That's right.
And so I just kept the word of God in my heart, in my ears, and saying what He said, staying in myself, refused to let the circumstances knock me out of my seat, walking in the Spirit. Colossians 3:15 says, follow the peace in your heart. Let it be the umpire. So no matter what was going around me, what I was hearing, I was choosing to keep my peace. Philippians 4:6 says, don't worry about anything. I think message, pray about everything. Make your requests known to God, be thankful, and then the peace of God comes. And so I had to do that through the process, no matter what the doctor said. Even I remember having a doctor's appointment, and the lab technician was walking me down the hall, and she was crying. She goes, oh, I feel so sad for you. I'm like, honey, don't feel sad for me. Mrs. McLean is going to have a baby. I can't tell you when. I can't tell you. I'm not believing for another miscarriage, but I'm going to have a baby. And she goes, I'm supposed to be comforting you, and you're comforting me.
Yes.
That's the light of Jesus.
Again, that's, we talked about joy recently, and that's that inner joy that doesn't make sense, the peace that doesn't make sense. But again, that's what attracts people, the not yets. It attracts them when we really have an understanding of who we are, whose we are, where we're seated, who we're seated with. That's beautiful.
And speaking of the not yets, that lab technician that was working there, after that conversation we had, she and her husband came to the church that I was going to, and her husband gave her life to the Lord. So that was a wonderful witness. So after, back to the story, what the doctors were saying about I was old and all these different things, they showed me videos about chromosome damage and You might have a child that was deformed and giving me permission to have an abortion if I wanted to. But I'm saying, like, you're not talking to me. I'm a kingdom citizen. I have a covenant with God, the God who never breaks his word, never alters the thing that goes out of his mouth. He's already told me, hold on to my promise. Don't cast it away, my confidence. So I refused to do that. I kept listening on the inside, hearing what the Lord was telling me. I would do what he said to do, not what the doctors would say for me to do. I wasn't on bed rest or any such thing. And now the promise has been received. We have a 22-year-old, 6'2", handsome, brilliant, love God with all of his heart son. And it's because the word works. I refused to be knocked out of my seat, and I held on to my peace. And that's good for anybody. We sometimes the hard things we don't want to experience, but if we lean on the Lord, he shows us how to walk through, and we come out so much stronger. I'm like Popeye, eating my spinach,
And sometimes we run from those hard things. There aren't, I don't know if I could personally continue to walk down that road. You were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think in the hard times, what we realize when we do go through those is that's when God holds us the closest to.
That's so good.
And that is our chance to let him shine and walk us through those. It's like, do we really believe what we say we believe?
Exactly.
This is the time that he will show himself faithful, and he always does, and he holds us so close in those times.
That's so good that you said that, because the first night, after the first time that happened, I would typically in early rise, we'd get up and spend time, and I could feel like in my heart, you should get up and pray, get up. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to talk to you, get up and pray, I don't want to talk to you. And I finally got out of bed and went down and had some time with the Lord. And I remember crying and hearing his voice just talk to me and minister to me, but I don't even remember what he said. I just know that his loving voice was speaking to me, but I was so, teary and overwrought. I just cried and cried and cried. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to tell the Lord, I hurt.
Yes.
I don't know, why is this happening? Did I do anything wrong? No, you didn't do anything wrong. It's okay to do that. And he's good for it. His promise came to pass. But I remember that night, he held me so close. I fell asleep. I woke up, having cried all night, sitting there with him. But he was sweet that way. That's how he is. He's very sweet, too. In those places, you'll get strength, and you'll also know the tenderness of his love.
And he has all those tears in a bottle.
Yes.
I mean, that to me shows how careful and how loving he is with us, that every tear we cry, he saves them in a bottle. Why would he save them? Because they're important to him.
Yes.
And the things that are important to us are important to God, and he saves every one because it's precious.
Yes.
And I think one of the things I want to go back to our previous message together, those 2 points that we had about, one, don't compare and compete, because we see the end of the story, or we see where someone is now. We don't see everything that they've been through to get there. And it's so easy to judge and think that we know where someone was. Oh, you've never experienced anything hard. You don't know anything about joy. And it's easy to assume that we know somebody else's journey, and that's the other reason I say be curious. Because I think you'd be really surprised if you become more curious about people and you find out what they've been through, and find out that you have so much more in common with people than you could imagine, and be kind, because you never know what someone has walked through. We can't assume that just because somebody looks good on the outside that they've never had a struggle, and just because they have joy, you don't know what I've been through, you don't know what I've walked through. Well, you might be surprised.
And that's how we got our joy.
Yes, and walking that out, and being seated with him, and having
staying in that
peace.
seat and refusing to be moved. I am so like the bulldog. I refuse to be moved out of my seat. God has proven himself. His love is so evident in those moments, and that I wouldn't have asked for that, but I'm so glad that I got to experience and know. So now the Lord says, comfort others with the comfort which you have received. So now I can comfort other women and say, God's got it.
That's right.
And you needed to have that son, because you needed to help me walk through my son, who's a few years younger and very much gifted the same way. And it's wonderful and it's amazing, but it's great to have mamas that have gotten a couple years down the road from where you are. So
Years.
And so it's been wonderful. So Daniel's been a blessing to me as well in so many ways. So I just want to thank you for sharing your heart. Did you have anything else that I didn't want to?
No, that's all.
Okay, well, we're out of
Yes,
time,
we're out
and
of
I could like
time.
sit here in the peace, being,
Yes.
just
We'll
with
wrap
Norma
up.
and her wisdom, and just appreciate that. So again, remember that peace is a person.
It is.
And peace is a
person.
choice. It doesn't matter what's going on around you. You can step into the peace that Jesus gave us, wholeness, nothing missing, nothing broken. We love you girls so much. I hope you'll continue these conversations in your group. Bless you, love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.